If you say the phrase ruby red slippers, everyone instantly knows you are referring to the shoes that Dorothy wore in the iconic film The Wizard of Oz. The famous movie hit the theaters 85 years ago this summer, and its star Judy Garland became a household name. What you might not be familiar with is the pro-life dimension of Garland's birth. We are blessed that she was even born. And you may not know about the missing ruby red slippers. Reporter Mark Irons has our story.
I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore.
85 years after audiences first encountered Dorothy, they're still captivated by the girl from Kansas who finds herself in the land of Oz and just wants to get back home.
And I think that's the thing that everyone can identify with. That sense of place and home and hope.
Tap your heels together 3 times.
A few clicks got Dorothy back to Kansas, but the true story of the actress who wore those iconic ruby red slippers begins here in the unassuming town of Grand Rapids, Minnesota, where Judy Garland was born. She lived in this home. It's now a small museum where founding director and curator John Kelsch reflects on the fact that initially, Judy wasn't welcomed here with open arms.
Judy's mother did not want a 3rd child, and even tried to miscarriage, did everything she could, like running up and down the steps and bumping up and down in a car. They even consulted their friend who was at medical school about an abortion.
The future doctor strongly advised against it, and in 1922, Judy was born. From the start, she dealt with sickness. At 14 months, she developed a high fever, became seriously ill, and suffered for weeks. But she was also born with what Judy's parents, both vaudeville entertainers, recognized as natural talent.
They both realized that, hey, this is a phenomena here. We've got a 2.5-year-old that can easily memorize a lyric and a tune.
In this middle-class home, on the staircase landing, Judy and her sisters would practice their theatrical routines. The 4 years she spent here in northern Minnesota prepared her for child stardom, a life on stage, and eventually the screen, where she would go on to appear in more than 30 films. Perhaps remembered most for her time on that yellow brick road and those famous ruby slippers.
We're off to see the wizard.
And now it's John Kelsch who finds himself in what feels like a chapter from the land of Oz. A real-life adventure with mystery and drama that sounds more like a script made for Hollywood.
We examined the crime scene and called the police.
It all started back in 2005 when one of the original pairs of ruby red slippers worn by Garland in The Wizard of Oz disappeared. They were stolen from the Grand Rapids Museum. The shoes on display now are only replicas of the originals. The heist was followed by more than a decade worth of suspense as the slippers remained missing. Then an FBI sting operation to recover them came in 2018. Later, the thief was finally caught and convicted, and now, chance to write a perfect ending.
The goal now is to get the ruby red slippers back here to Minnesota, to this house here in Grand Rapids where Judy Garland spent the early years of her childhood. The museum says this would be the best spot for the slippers to remain. I mean, after all,
There's no place like home.
There's no place like home. They belong here.
This is where Judy Garland was born. This is where her life and legacy is celebrated. It just seems like a really good fit.
Janie Heitz is the Judy Garland Museum executive director. As much as she and Kelsch hope the slippers find their way back here, there's no guarantee. The museum doesn't own them. They were on temporary loan from a private collector when they were exhibited almost 20 years ago at the museum, and that's when Kelsch got the frantic call from a former staff member.
All she said on the phone was, "They're gone." And I knew exactly what she meant.
He calls it a comedy of errors leading up to the theft. Earlier in the day, after school children unintentionally kept setting off the security alarm by passing through an emergency exit door, the system was disengaged, and when the heist was made after the museum closed that night, the alarm system failed to notify police.
A lot of people didn't trust us anymore because it was a security breach.
Heitz says the museum lost some credibility after the incident, but all could be made right. Earlier this year in Grand Rapids, police returned the ruby slippers to private owner Michael Shaw, who's made the decision to publicly auction them off this December to the highest bidder. Guess who will be there?
All we can do is try. We'd be silly not to try.
Well, we'll have to have at least $3 million.
Oh, 100% we're the underdog, yeah. But sometimes underdogs make it, right?
We could be bidding against Disney World. Who knows?
The state is even pitching in. Lawmakers passed the Minnesota Legacy Finance Bill, sending $100,000 to the museum's fundraising campaign to get the slippers back to Grand Rapids permanently. Two of the other authentic pairs used in The Wizard of Oz are in high-profile places already. One on display at the Smithsonian Museum of American History in Washington, D.C., the other in Los Angeles at the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures. If the cinematic shoe wear does land in the Midwest, the museum says the increase in tourism and business would benefit the region. And we asked if they'd tighten security.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
Walking around this museum, you'll find other props from The Wizard of Oz on display. Mary Ann Klingler, visiting from Idaho, remembers watching the movie as a child.
It was just one of those things that everybody enjoyed.
The story of Dorothy is timeless, and the life of Judy Garland is remembered in full here, including the hard parts.
She experienced a lot of pain.
You know, she struggled her whole life.
Not long after leaving Minnesota, the pace of life picked up for Garland. Over the years, she had superstar success as well as many challenges. She married 5 times and developed addictions to alcohol and prescription drugs. She died at 47 from an accidental overdose.
So much happened in her life for the short period of time that she lived. And I don't know that, was she ever really happy?
A quote from Garland could help answer that question. Reflecting back on her earliest years, when she grew up in this Minnesota home, she said it was terribly happy, possibly the only kind of normal, carefree time in my life. It may just be a pair of shoes, but some say they're symbolic of what we all long to find.
Home. There's no place like home.
Mark Irons, EWTN News In Depth.